Hi, good evening. I am Poem Praise to Peace and Blessings to you. I do have an evening read for y'all. This evening we are going to come out of Lies My Teacher Told Me by James Lowen. We are currently in chapter number 6, and this is take 9 of this chapter. So without further ado, take 9, it reads as such. Textbooks need not explain Lincoln's words at Gettysburg, as I have done. The Gettysburg Address is rich enough to survive various analyses. But of the 6 books that do reprint the speech, 4 merely put it in a box by itself in a corner of the page. I'm going to show you a picture right now. It's Lincoln's logs. And I'm going to read to you what is up under the picture. And it reads as such. The strange career of the log cabin in which Abraham Lincoln was born symbolizes in a way what textbooks have done to Lincoln. The actual cabin fell into despair probably before Lincoln became president. According to research by D.T. Pitcatley, Pitcaithley, the new cabin, a hoax, built in 1894, was leased to 2 amusement park owners. Went to Coney Island, where it got commingled with the birthplace cabin of Jefferson Davis, another hoax, and was finally shrunk to fit inside a marble pantheon in Kentucky, where reassembled it still stands. The cabin also became a children's toy. Lincoln's logs, invented by Frank Lloyd Wright's son, John, in 1920, came with instructions on how to build both Lincoln's log cabin and Uncle Tom's cabin. The cabin still makes its archetypical appearance in our textbooks, signifying the rags to riches legend of Abraham Lincoln's upward mobility. No wonder one college student could only say of him, and a much repeated blooper, he was born in a log cabin, which he built with his own hands. Pathways to the present offer a rather empty summation afterward. Only Life and Liberty ask intelligent questions about it. As a result, I have yet to meet a high school graduate who has devoted any time to thinking about the Gettysburg Address. Even words in textbook treatment of Lincoln's second inaugural in this towering speech, one of the masterpieces of American oratory. Lincoln specifically identified differences over slavery as the primary cause of the Civil War. Then, in its 4th bloody year, if we suppose that the American slavery is one of those offenses which, in the providence of God, must need come, but which, having continued through his appointed time, he now wills to remove, and that he gives to both North and South this terrible war. As the woe due to those by whom the offense came, shall we discern therein any departure from those divine attributes which the believers in a living God always ascribe to him? Lincoln continued in this vein by invoking the doctrine of predestination, a more vital element of the nation's idea system than now. Fondly do we hope, fervently do we pray, that this mighty scourge of war may speedily pass away. Yet it God wills that it continue until all the wealth piled by the bondsman, 250 years of unrequited toil, shall be sunk, and until every drop of blood drawn with the lash shall be paid by another drawn with the sword, as was said 3,000 years ago. So still it must be said, the judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. The last is an astonishing sentence. Its length alone astounds. Politicians don't talk like that nowadays. When students read this passage aloud, slowly and deliberately, they do not fail to perceive it as a searing indictment of America's sins against black people. The Civil War, by far the most devastating experience in our nation's history. Yet we had it coming, Lincoln says here. And in his rhetorical content, sin or crime, not mere tragedy. It is the fitting and proper term. Indeed, this indictment of the U.S. race relations echoes John Brown's last note. I, John Brown, am now quite certain that the crimes of this guilty land will never be purged away, but with blood. Lincoln's second inaugural made such an impact on Americans that when the president was shot a month later, farmers in New York and Ohio greeted his funeral train with placards bearing its phrase, "But only the United States. A history of the Republic includes any other material quoted above." 7 other textbooks restrict their quotation to the speech's final phrase about binding up the nation's wound with malice toward none. 10 ignore the speech altogether. Like Helen Keller's concerns about the injustice of social class, Lincoln's concern about the crime of racism may appear unseemly to textbook authors. Must we remember Lincoln for that? Let's leave it out. Such an approach to Lincoln might be called the Walt Disney interpretation. Disney's exhibit at the 1964 New York's World's Fair featured an animated sculpture of Lincoln that spoke for several minutes choosing his words carefully to say nothing about slavery. Having disconnected Abraham Lincoln from consideration of right and wrong, several textbooks present the Civil War the same way. In reality, U.S. soldiers, several textbooks present the Civil War the same way. I said that twice to you from Poem Praise 2. Now, in reality, U.S. soldiers who began fighting to save the Union and not much more, ended by fighting for all the vague but portentous ideas in the Gettysburg Address from 1862 on. Union Army sang Battle Cry of Freedom, composed by George Root in the summer of that year. And I'm going to end take number 9 right there. So stay tuned to Poem Praise 2 and you'll get to hear some of the lines, the battle cry of freedom that I'm going to read to you. I do thank you for listening to this read. I know it's been a minute, y'all, but I certainly do thank you for listening. Stay tuned for take number 10. If you are not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe at this time. Hit that thumbs up and share. And I want for you and your family, I want for you to be safe, to be well, to be blessed, and it be at thy will. Poem Praise 2. I'll talk and I'll see you later. Later, y'all. All right. Till next time. Later, y'all.